So how does the ego control us, and how do we take back control? So it kind of goes like this. If I'm sitting with somebody and I ask them, can you declare to me that you're an independent person? Most adults will say, I'm independent, I live an independent life in an independent way, and I'm not really influenced by too many people around me. If I then question them and ask them, do they feel that they're influenced by people of their past, their mums, their dads, whoever they grew up with when they were younger? They'll continue in their declaration and say to me, no, I'm absolutely an independent person. I make my own choices. There are some influences, but I carry my own choices. So let me just explain to you how that's wrong. The conscious brain can deal with about 40 bits of information at any one time. That's its computation value at any one time. And those 40 bits of information are already consumed and taken up. That space is already taken up by what's happening around us, what's going on right now, what's happening tonight, the ambulance that's passing by the window, the smells, the environment, what's going on around, and so on. When the conscious brain gets too full, it starts to scream out, and it gets us to say things like, that's too much information, you're inundating me, I can't deal with all of this info right now. And when we get to that level of excitement, that's the conscious brain telling the truth. It's saying, I'm full. I can't deal with 2 and 3 people telling me 2 and 3 things, and one person downloading so much requests and demands and information and so on. So the conscious brain has a backup system called the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind can deal with 500,000 bits of information at the same time that the conscious brain can only deal with 40. So it's much faster and much quicker, and it has a much bigger capacity. So what happens is this. When the conscious brain gets inundated and it has to make a new decision to do something new in a new way, and let's say that new decision is, I've taken stock of my finances, which is a lot of people come to us with this. I've taken stock of my finances. I see my position. I want to do something greater in my life. And with greatest of intentions, they set off on a journey to do something greater, but a month later, they're back being their own selves again. So what happened was this. The conscious brain couldn't deal with this new thing because its computation value is too small. Its capacity is too low. So it says to the subconscious brain, do you have a program down there to deal with this? And the subconscious brain is all about subconscious programs. And the subconscious brain responds to the conscious brain and says, yes, we have a program to deal with this. Now I'm going to bring you back a little bit further, and then I'll come back to where I'm at right now. You're 7 years of age, and you're with your mum. You're walking through a shop, and you say to your mum, you look up and you see a bicycle. You're in a toy shop, and you see the best bicycle in the toy shop, and you say to your mum, Mum, can I have that bicycle for my birthday? And your mum says to you, no, you were naughty, and because of that, you don't deserve it, and let's continue on and get into the car and finish our shopping. When you were 6, 7, 5, 8, 4, 3, 2, 1, you were in delta brainwave frequency. In delta brainwave frequency, there's no logic, there's not a lot of room for logic. And right at that moment in time, if your mum said to you as a younger kid, don't eat the dirt off the street, and 2 minutes later she looks around and you're eating the dirt off the street, and she walks up to you and says, I told you not to do that. Why did you do it? And you say to her, well, I don't know. Well, you're telling the truth, because right at that moment in time, the subconscious brain was able to take the opportunity to build an association with eating dirt so that it could remember for the rest of your life whether eating dirt was self-serving or self-limiting. And that's why you ate the dirt. It built a program. Back to the shop. Right at that moment in time when your mum says no, you were naughty, you're not getting it, let's get into the car. She's just built a program, because in Delta, you're building programs. If your mum said to you, we don't have the money for that, that's the most expensive bike in the shop, because we can't afford that, right at that moment in time, she's also built a program. That program tells you that there's a lack of money in the world. It tells you it's pointless because you never got the bicycle, so you never got the outcome, so you believe the story. And that program, that experience at that moment in time, built a neurological pathway, which we call a subconscious program, which is the consequence of our subvocalization and the voices that we tell ourselves in our head. So, 40 years later, you're sitting there and you're in your new world and you're thinking, I'm going to do something about my finances. And the conscious brain says to the subconscious brain, do we have a program to deal with this? And the subconscious brain says, we sure do. and it goes right down deep inside like an arm reaching into a jukebox for a CD from a shelf, and it takes a program off and it lays it out and it plays it into your life. And that program tells you that unless you're good, you don't get things. There's a lack of money in the world. We can't afford this. This isn't for us, and you might as well not do it. So therefore, we have to ask ourselves, if we feel that we're living our life in our own way, by our own designs, making our own determinations and are laying our own path, but our programs are programs that we adopted and we inherited from other people in our past, how can we possibly declare that we're independent? How can we possibly break through? So how do we break through these programs? And the problem with those programs is that they live with you until the day you die. Until the day you leave this world. They are there forever and ever and ever. But the great thing about the brain is that it's liquid. In the sense, it means this. It means that we can build new programs. So to build a new program, we have to get to a level of what we call pure consciousness. And in getting into pure consciousness, we have to get to a place whereby we bypass the ego. Because the subconscious programs play out in our brain, in our mind, as subvocalization, which is an internal voice. And that subvocalization forms the ego, and the ego is the one that presents itself with all of these programs. So to build a new program, we have to put the ego to sleep, because it's the ego that says to you, you can't do this, you mustn't do this, you are limited, you are not good enough, you don't deserve this, it will never work for you. It's the ego that we have to put to sleep. To put the ego to sleep, we can do one of our meditations, and in doing the meditations, you will switch on a part of your brain called the cerebellum. When you switch on the cerebellum is like the frontal lobe. It has access to all of the brain's geography. So it lowers the volume in other areas of the brain. So that right at that moment in time, there's no motor centers being activated that activate movement. There's no association center that identifies that where your identity lives. There's no time processing centers active at that time. And right then, the ego is literally gone to sleep as you start to build a new program. And when you reinforce that new way of thinking and you reinforce that program, the body will respond accordingly. So the body responds to the program by acting. And then later, as you build a new program, the program instructs the body to move a new way. And now all of a sudden, you're feeling more optimistic and you're doing more optimistic things and you're acting in accordance with your goals and your dreams.